for the day is, well, it's drama, as pretty much always. This time, it's sort of like a unified story. It's Bioware and Ubisoft.
I've heard nothing about this, so I'm coming in completely like blind. I have no idea what this topic is. I'm very curious. What fill me in.
All right, so Bioware and Ubisoft, according to insider rumors, are on the ropes. There are massive issues. Now, we have known about the massive issues at Ubisoft for a while.
I mean, I would argue we have known about the issues at BioWare as well, because they've been messing up tremendously. And it's like real quick, like when it comes to the BioWare, I think at least probably Ubisoft the same thing, but BioWare at least, one of the things that I will say is that the huge issue in there is their leadership. Their leadership is incompetent. It's literally that easy. The BioWare leadership is incompetent, and I know that because of the recent release of Dragon Age. Some people will say, "Oh, it's because of." You're talking about the politics. It's like, no, I'm talking about this ever since I played Anthem. Because, again, I will bring it up time and time again. The team that developed Anthem was incredibly talented. They were really good.
Yes.
It's just the game turned to shit because the leadership couldn't make use of that team, and they had no idea what direction the game was going. It's like the team itself, talented at making like cool gameplay scenarios, but then the story was garbage, and the rest of the stuff is just like the leadership's going like, I don't know what to do with this game. Yeah, we can tell. We can tell you have no idea how good you have it. So yeah, leadership's pretty bad. At least that would be.
I think the other thing that should be mentioned here, and it's right up next to what you're saying there. We have more insider reports that came out earlier this week, actually, from a verified source. That basically just explains what is going on at BioWare and why things are just not working. So the leadership of BioWare,
what do we mean by a verified source?
So the guy that I was watching, he laid out like a full. First and foremost, the developer texted him or DM'd him from his official Twitter account, so he could look at the Twitter account and see that it is officially on BioWare. Then the guy also sent him like actual documentation showing that he does indeed work at BioWare.
Ooh, that's spicy.
He has, So he has. I mean, guys, for those of you that don't know exactly how leaks work, Rurikon will know this because every once in a while you will have someone that reaches out to you. That's about the gold standard of leaking. That's about as good as it gets, unless you've met these people in real life and they DM you.
To be able to verify
that's the next best
through
thing.
Like email addresses and credentials and stuff like that. Yeah, it takes a long thing to get around that. But
yeah. But that's like the gold standard. If you see some documentation of him actually working at the company and it's the official Twitter account, that's pretty confirmed at that point. The leadership made a decision about 4 years ago to only hire white women of color, and LGBTQ. That's it. They refuse to hire anyone, like, even if you're a person of color male, you're shit out of luck getting a job at BioWare. They just want to get, the LGBTQ people in. And then this guy also made the claim that he was doing a job on Dragon Age the Veilguard, right? So he was doing development on the game. At the time, they didn't have a team lead for the department that he was working for. So he basically became the team lead. All of the other developers would come to him.
De facto team leader, yeah.
Yeah. He was basically doing the job as a team leader for 2 years. He ran all of those developers doing a specific job. Then finally, there's an opening for team lead for that department that he's running.
Let me guess, he's a white guy?
Yeah. So he applies for the job. They don't even consider him. Like, literally, his application gets declined instantly. They hire 2 members of the LGBTQ to get in. These girls have, or these people have less than, he said it's girls that came in, so I'm assuming lesbian most likely. They came in with less than 2 years experience in the gaming industry as a whole. He has more than 2 decades experience in the gaming industry.
What game was he working on at the time? Was that revealed?
At the time, it was Dragon Age the Veilguard. they came in with less than 2 years experience as a whole in the gaming industry. And he's like, all right, what do you mean?
Okay.
And
so
listen to this.
Okay, go ahead.
The leadership at BioWare came to him after denying him the raise or the promotion. They came to him and said, will you train them so that they can learn how to be the team leaders of the department that you've been team leading for the last 2 years? Because they don't know how to team lead this department. And the only reason he's so candidly speaking about it is he already has another job and he's leaving at the end of January for the new job. So he doesn't give a shit whether they know who he is or what's going on. He's just like, fine, I'll burn this bitch to the ground.
It's like, I think it is important for us to acknowledge that there's some potential for bias in here, especially if the dude was like passed over for a promotion and stuff like that. You know, there is potential for that. We could entertain that thought for sure. The other thing that I would like to mention is I don't think either of us are against people from the LGBT community taking up leadership positions in video games, so long as it is earned. That is the key factor here, which is, at least, again, I don't think I've ever even talked with you about this, Akalon, but I'm pretty sure that both of us believe in what should be a meritocracy. It's like, hey, we want the best people for the job in the position that they need to be at. So whether that person is lesbian, trans, black, queer, Mexican, gay, what means nothing. It's just like, did they earn their position? Are they good at what they're doing? Are they going to make a good video game? That is the most important thing when it comes to that. But the story that you just mentioned, like, taken at face value, it's like, that's fucking disgusting. There's no other way of going about it. It's just fucking disgusting. Like, imagine, especially because considering that he wasn't officially a team lead, I imagine he's being paid the same as all of the people that he's leading, with 10 times the responsibility of all the people that he's leading, which is absolutely disgusting. And then to just get passed over, and on top of it, somebody coming out, and by the way, we're going to need you to go ahead and train these people to do the job that you've been doing and that you deserve to receive a promotion, but fuck you, because we're going to get them instead. And it's like, that's terrible. That's just, and you know, it's funny that it goes like this, because like I said at the start of this, right? I said, I have no idea what this story is. And you said, oh, it's about Bioware and Ubisoft. They're having problems. I was like, well, the Bioware leadership fucking sucks. And then you basically tell a story about how Bioware's leadership is trash. Oh, man. Yeah. I'm so surprised that this would happen. Who could see it coming?
So I want to just very quickly reiterate what Rurikon just said there. I will go one step further and say, I have never in my entire life even asked the question what race or gender or sexuality this developer has. I could not give two shits. If the games they make are good and they have the experience to make those games, make the game. I couldn't care less. Like, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But when you have, and this is sort of the bad thing, right? When you have a game like Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which is so clearly very much politically charged and made with very little, like, you can tell. We'll get to the actual play experience because me and Rurikon have both played it. You can tell that the people that wrote that game don't know how to write video games. They don't know how to write anything.
The writing. The dialogue. Oh my God, dude. I am not kidding. Like, after one of the first scenes, I was like, Your writing has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. I feel like the writer is sitting next to me, beating me over the head with the plot. That's what he's doing. He's like, hey, are you paying attention yet?
In case you miss the very sophisticated plot, there's a pop-up that tells you exactly what you just missed.
We need to talk about that in its own segment. Let's keep this one going.
We'll get to that. But then, after seeing something like that, and then you see the lead dev is like a trans person, super activist, then it becomes relevant. Because now I'm looking at this person, I'm looking at the game that they just lead dev'd for, and I go, I don't think you got this role because you deserved it. And then you find out that this person's only other game ever was The Sims. And you go, wait, what?
I hear the storytelling is real good.
The Sims somehow qualifies you for an RPG?
Now that I think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, the Sims don't actually speak. They have like they speak in tongues, and then you need pop-ups so that people understand what the characters are. Oh my god, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But that's when it becomes relevant, and the problem is it hurts actual people in the industry with actual talent that may be part of the LGBT community, or may be women, or maybe people of color, people who are actually good at doing their jobs, suddenly get caught up in this web of DEI woke nonsense, to the point where, and I told you guys this before, I showed a friend of mine the cinematic for Exodus. The moment he saw the female, one of the female characters like woke DI bullshit, and he just left and would not hear of it. Why? Because of games like Dragon Age the Veilguard. Because it continuously proves itself over and over again, and it just keeps happening. And at some point, you just have to make the connection, right? You just have to go, well, you know, I see a female protagonist. I know it's what.
I want to make one thing
not
clear.
Always, but
my argument right now with Dragon Age the Veilguard is not whether or not it's woke. It is. It's got terrible writing. Like I'm not at the point where I've gotten to see all of the real stuff that people are talking about, like Tash and all that. I haven't seen any of that yet. I haven't been beaten over the head with political messaging yet in the game, so I'm not at that point yet. So I'm not going to comment on the wokeness levels or whatever.
I will say,
but I will comment on beating me over the head with a sledgehammer with that terrible writing. That I will say. And there's more. My god, I have a ton of stuff to say.
There's so much we can discuss. Yeah. So I won't go too deep into it, but there is. Remind me to explain to you how I think the politics, to some extent, is actually to blame for the bad writing, and you'll understand when I sort of connect it for you. Because it's not directly to blame. Not thinking that. I think there's plenty of people who vote left who can write brilliant stories. But I think there's something else going on here. But anyway, so to explain to you guys, Bioware is sort of melting down. Ubisoft is on fire already. There's smoke.
To see Ubisoft. Like Bioware, I'm like, man, Anthem was so cool. Why you guys got to burn down? Like, even Andromeda had shit story. Yes, 100%. The story of Andromeda was trash. But the gameplay of Andromeda was cool. Like, there's cool stuff in here. And then Ubisoft, I'm like, I don't care. Let them burn. Like,
but that's genuinely what happened. There's like smoke, like big, thick, dark
billowing
of smoke
clouds
coming out of Bioware. Just across the road is Ubisoft. People jumping out of the windows, fucking blazing fire everywhere, screaming, "Save us! Save us!"
Help!
That place is burning down at the moment.
Oh my god!
And Bioware is basically on the verge of. Now, things are getting really bad at Ubisoft. You just had the lead developer for Assassin's Creed, or the boss of the AC franchise, basically come out and tell the gamers, screw you.
That's all.
We don't care about you not wanting politics in your video game. We don't care about you. Like, he doubled down.
I think that's
in the
always
interview.
A good idea. I too like to go up to my live streams and then just tell my audience, I can't believe how terrible you guys are. That's what I like to do.
It's brilliant.
I go up to my audience and, right as they're doing the membership thing, or they give me like a big donation or something like that, I'll be like, oh, I fucking hate you so much. You won't believe how much
needs to hear that. Your audience wants to hear that.
That's exactly how it works.
That's a great strategy.
That's a good strategy, right? You just talk down to your audience and you just tell them how dumb they are and repeat and emphasize that over and over. That's
it's a winning strategy, actually.
100%.
Works like a charm.
Yeah, every time.
It works 50% of the time, 100% of the time.
Yes, something.
It's a brilliant idea. Like, more developers should really do this. I hope EA gets in on the action and Activision Blizzard as well.
Dude, let's go.
They really start doing that. Yeah. But here's the thing. So he doubles down on this, and he doubles down on Yasuke being an actual samurai, even though that's been completely debunked. And I actually read a paper from a Japanese historian. Now, this is the funniest thing. On the last page of this, I think it was like a 15-page paper, this Japanese historian goes, as of right now, there are no historians in Japan that consider Yasuke an important enough figure of the past to even begin to argue over whether he is a samurai or not.
Here's the thing.
Because there's so little information about him. There's literally no information about Yasuke outside of like a couple of parchments here and there and mentions of him. So historians don't give a crap. He's like, who cares about this guy?
It's like, here's the situation where I'm at. I don't give a fuck if he was a samurai or not. You can make a video game and have Yasuke be a samurai. That's fine. That's fine.
Of course.
The thing is, what you shouldn't be doing is, unless you are 100% sure that he was a samurai, you probably shouldn't be beating people over the head with that information. Going like, he was. You don't know anything. He was a samurai. It's like, I don't care if he was or if he wasn't. It's a fantasy video game. What do I care? This means nothing to me. Just stop trying to convince people that that don't believe that he was a samurai. Don't even try to convince them. Tell them, hey, it's a video game. In our video game, he was a samurai. Boom, done.
It's not even that he's trying to convince people. He's just straight up pretending like all the news didn't break of this one law dude writing an entire fictitious book. And then using his book to change Wikipedia.
Sourcing his own book to change the Wikipedia entry of Yasuke.
Yeah. And then also information that just came out that he did actually work with Ubisoft. He's the reason Yasuke is in Ubisoft's new Assassin's Creed Shadows.
There's a Wikipedia page about me that says that I'm the most handsome man alive. The source they used, there was this book I wrote about 15 seconds ago.
I mean, it's
I'm the most handsome man alive, 100%. It's guaranteed. There's a Wikipedia page that says it.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. That's what most of these people don't seem to realize. This dude included, this Kote guy, is gamers are sick and tired of being gaslit.
Yeah.
Because he ends up using all these historical characters from their old games, like Altair. And it's like, bro, Altair makes absolute sense in that fucking game. Like, what are you talking about? The setting, he slots perfectly into it. What would have been weird is if he had blonde hair and blue eyes. Then we would all have been like, what? How is this even possible? like, I don't understand. What is that comparison? It's like saying, well, we had a Viking Scandinavian-looking motherfucker in Valhalla. It's like, yeah, because it's Valhalla.
It makes sense. It
makes perfect sense. But the problem is the gaslighting. It's the doubling down, and then he goes on to Naoka, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. The girl that's also in the game, and there he makes the claim she's completely fictitious.
I think it's
Nawe. Yeah, she's completely fictitious, but based on other female warriors of the time, because women would oftentimes take up the sword, and then all it takes is literally one Google search to go, actually, no, not during that specific period that you guys set the game in the first place. And even if they did, most women would be horseback archers. They wouldn't actually be hand-to-hand combat specialists.
They don't know about.
But I don't even care.
They don't know about Portuguese.
At least they
women.
say fictitious.
Listen, we have like a folklore story of this lady who used to be a baker. I don't actually know is it called the baker, the person who makes the bread, right? Because we have a different name, but she was a baker, and there was like some battle that we had, and she basically beat a bunch of people up with the tool that you put the wooden tool you put the bread in the oven. She basically stabbed a bunch of people and killed them with it. Anybody who knows about Portugal is like a padeira de Aljubarrota. She killed them, dude. She was murdering people left and right. It was fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, but this is my thing, right? He brings her up as the fictitious one, but then he still bases her on history, which is easily provable as not true. He could have stopped. You want to know why? Because he has fictitious in the sentence. The second he says this is completely fictitious, I go, oh, I don't give a shit.
That's fine.
Because
yeah.
you made it up. In a video game,
Source.
I kind of expect you to make
I made
shit
it
up.
Source. Hey, guess what?
Yeah, and that's fine. The problem is when you start gaslighting us. But all right, so Ubisoft completely melting down. There are rumors inside Ubisoft, at least, that the very bad sales of Star Wars Outlaws may lead to some severe problems for Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're now hearing we have confirmation, at least from the boss of Ubisoft, that it's going to cost them $20 million to postpone the Assassin's Creed Shadows to February. Now, when I heard that number, and I would love to get your feedback on this, does $20 million sound to you like just a couple of bug fixes and smoothing over the game? Unless, of course, that game was completely unplayable at launch when they wanted to play it, and they had to rebuild the entire game from the ground up. Where does $20 million go? Because game development is expensive, but it's not that expensive.
So it was supposed to come out in November initially, right?
Yeah, so we're talking a 3 month
So it's like
delay.
Probably their projected losses are because they're not coming out in holiday season, I would imagine. It's the fact that you're not coming out around Christmas when parents are buying the latest video games for their kids. And so that's probably where the big losses are coming in from, I would imagine.
But you see, he didn't say losses. He said they're spending $20 million on the game.
Didn't you say
in order to postpone it?
Didn't you say that it costed us $20 million?
Yeah, he said it's going to cost us $20 million to delay the game. I don't know if that includes losses, but it could.
It's not investing. Like if I'm going to tell you, I skipped making this live stream and that's going to cost me something. It just means that it's loss.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It is a little ambiguous as to
so it's probably
what could you actually be talking about?
A mixture of loss of revenue, and then on top of it, they're also accounting for the fact that they're including all of the because they're actually doing the right thing of not being absolute fucking scumbags with this game and chopping it up like the burger meme of video games where it's like, oh, we used to get the whole burger. Now we get like 2 buns. And then you can buy the patty on the side and a little bit of lettuce if you want that, or the cheese.
Yeah. No, you don't buy the patty on the side. You can rent the smell of the patty on the side. Yeah. The patty is never included because it's fucking Ubisoft. They lost the patty halfway through development.
You get the idea. So the fact that they're no longer applying that grossly over monetized strategy is also going to cost them monetarily. Yeah. So that's another thing. The fact that they're not doing the 3-day early access means that less people will buy the deluxe version because now they can just buy the standard version, play the game. There's like a bunch of, pro-consumer things that they did, which to be honest, even though they're saying this is going to cost us this much, that should be seen as an investment into the, you remember how we talked about the positive like goodwill and the monetary deposit? They're basically taking some of their monetary bank and putting it in the goodwill bank. But to be honest, I still think it's too little, too late. Like, hey, I'm gonna say it. Hey, good on you for finally not treating your customers like absolute just cash cows and just milking them dry. Good on you for finally doing the right thing. But you've been scumbags for over a decade. Don't expect me to be like, oh my God, we're all saved. Here's Ubisoft. It's return to form. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
You've been milking people for 10 years. You got a lot of making up to do. That's the way that I look at it.
See, I'm just quickly looking at it here. So it says here, according to Eurogamer, who, by the way, very left-wing site, so they're not, if they were biased, they would have been biased the other way around. But if you're looking at this, right, Assassin's Creed Shadows delay necessary to change narrative of Ubisoft's inconsistency in quality. So it seems like there's major updates and fixes and reworks maybe of some of the animations, because there were a lot of criticisms of the animations.
Yeah, I know. I was one of the people criticizing it. Yeah.
Yeah. You said it looks like it's like different animations sort of plugged together.
Yeah.
You can see the breaks in animation. So it seems like this is like a massive overhaul of almost the entire
and
game.
it was about
which
time
could
they did
mean
it too, because their animation department fucking sucks.
But it could be that that's where the 20 million is coming from. So it's not even projected losses from delays and all the rest of it. It's literally they're spending nearly $20 million on fixing the game.
Yep.
So maybe doing some recaps on the mocap and all the rest of it to try and get the game at least in some kind of a playable state. So I think very interesting. But of course, this just goes back into the rumors that even this game, according to some of the insiders at Ubisoft, they don't think it's going to sell well either.
Yeah, and it shouldn't.
They think even when it comes out, it's not going to sell well.
It shouldn't. Like they need to take a massive financial hit. So because what's going to happen? Yeah. Imagine this. Imagine that all of a sudden Assassin's Creed Shadows blows up and everybody like is buying it and it's game of the year 2025 and all of this. What is Ubisoft's lesson? They're like, well, time to go right back to the old ways, baby. Out with the new, in with the old, back to splitting things up burger style, back to doing it all in like the 3-day early access. It's like, no, you're going to suffer now because you fucked with your fan base. It is what it is.
You see, the reason I have this topic is because from what some of the insiders are telling us, Ubisoft may not have another game in them if AC Shadows fails. This might be the last one, purely because they are struggling financially. I know this hits you hard.
I'm so sad.
It's your favorite company, right?
I'm just so sad. Oh my god, I'm so sad. It just fills me up with warmth and joy. Oh, poor Ubisoft. Oh.
And then we should probably just mention on the Dragon Age side. This is Bioware, by the way. The insider information we're getting now is that it sold fewer copies than Star Wars Outlaws. At least Star Wars Outlaws had the excuse that for some, let's be nice and say for some inexplicable reason that no one in the history of the world will ever understand, Ubisoft made the executive decision not to launch the game on Steam day one. Right? At least they can claim that was our biggest blunder.
It was a brilliant decision. What do you mean? Why would you want to release it on Steam, dude? I have no idea what you're talking about.
But Dragon Age Veilguard did launch on Steam day one. And it sold less than Star Wars Outlaws, which is very bad. And now we're hearing from insiders, at least the rumors. And I believe these actually come from insiders in the industry, not insiders in BioWare. They're saying that Mass Effect might get canceled as well. So EA
I don't see
EA
that.
already made the executive. Let me explain it like this. So EA, after the failings of Dragon Age the Veilguard, this was actually leading up to the pre-order. So this tells us even the pre-orders for Dragon Age the Veilguard wasn't that good. Because leading up to the pre-orders of Veilguard, EA already made the decision there shall be no DLC for this game whatsoever. Which leads me to, and this is a massive conspiracy theory, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think from EA's perspective, they just wanted to get it out. Yeah. I don't think the bosses at EA liked this game. But I think they looked at this game and said, this is shit.
The weird thing...
But they knew they can't delay it anymore.
The weird thing is how I've been hearing so many publications say that the game is super polished, regardless of, whether or not you like the story, you like the stuff. They were saying like, oh, it's super polished, super well performance-wise and all of that. And that requires a considerable investment in QA and, actually polishing up the game, which is surprising. And I will argue that I guess it is kind of polished, but of course it's polished for NVIDIA GPUs, because when it comes to AMD GPUs, we can eat a big fat dick. That's how it works out here. Because like I was trying to play it on my 69.
Team Green, brother.
Yeah, I was trying to play it on my 6900 XT, and I was like, oh, everybody's telling me that this is like giga optimized. Clearly, my 6900 XT will eat this up like no problem. And then I boot up the game, and like the camera's all stuttery, and and I was like, oh, great, fantastic, thank you. This is great. But the best part of it is that art style is such a piece of shit that I got to downscale it down to 1440p, and I couldn't even tell the difference. Listen, when I can run your game at 4K and then bump it down to 1440p and I can't tell the difference, I'm like, hey, that's good on you. Good job.
Yeah,
fucking smooth
no,
ass.
I will say the game plays really smooth, but then the graphics are really bad, so it's not surprising.
Yeah.
It would be like you telling me, well, Minecraft runs pretty smooth.
Yeah, but it's like,
yeah, I expect it to run pretty smooth. What are you talking
It didn't
about?
run smooth when they first made it because voxel technology was fairly new.
Yeah, but I mean, these days, if you have like a 30 series graphics card, Minecraft will run smoothly.
Yes.
Like, that's not a boast. You can't go, well, it runs smooth. Yep, because it looks like ass. And the other, I mean, there's so many problems with this game, and we're going to get into that in the next topic here.
Yeah.
But the point is, the rumors that I'm hearing at least is that, or makes me think at least, that the EA bosses looked at this game
and they
were like,
it out.
this is shit. And they're like, look, we don't care. No DLCs. This is done. Get this out of the door. Let's move on. Because we have official confirmation that there will be no DLCs for this game.
Yeah.
It's now all hands on deck for Mass Effect 5. But now I'm starting to hear that even Mass Effect 5 might be in trouble.
Although I will say there is merit to, just giving people a full experience. It's like you don't need every game to have a DLC, but there is also a show because, like, for instance, when From Software made Elden Ring, they also were like, yep, this is it. This is the full game. It's done. We're happy with it. And, you got a full experience. And it was a super awesome game.
Yeah.
It was only because later down the line, everybody would just keep going like, oh my God, but it's so good. We need more. We really need more, please. And then they were like, all right, we'll give you some more. So it's like there is some merit to being like, no, this is the full experience. There's no DLC needed. But, I don't know. Again, like I said, I haven't finished the game.
Yeah.
I've only played like 5 hours. So,
I have no problem with that. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 famously also said,
yeah,
no
we're
DLC.
not doing DLC. Yeah. They were planning on it, but they were just like, nah, actually, we don't want to do it. And, I think that's
we're
fair.
very happy with what the game is that we made. And I think I can speak for most people that played it. We're very happy with the game that they made.
Oh, yeah.
It's
absolutely.
a super fun game.
Absolutely.
The replayability is sick. So basically, you don't even need the DLC. Just start a new character and you basically get a new game. So fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a greedy corporation like EA missing out on the opportunity to sell people another game.
Yeah, that is weird.
About universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tells you that they sort of gave up on this game before it even came out. They were like, this.
They're probably not too confident in the success of the game, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna get what we're gonna get, and it is what it is. Yeah, I will say they still reached a reasonable number on Steam concurrence. It was like 90,000 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, like 89,000 something.
It's not super amazing if you consider that it is the Dragon Age franchise, which should get significantly more. But I would also argue that one of the biggest issues with Dragon Age the Veilguard, from what I've played so far, is that it is not really the type of game that a lot of Dragon Age fans want.